Go.
All right, cool. I will go ahead and dive right into things then. So, hello everyone, and good morning. My name is Macaulay Klutzley. I am with the Microsoft training team, and I am actually based out of Cleveland, Ohio. So that's where I'm presenting from today. And we're going to be going over PowerPoint at a level 100 today. So just a couple of things to note before we do get started with the training. Just a couple of tips that I have at least going into this. If you actually click on the ellipses, those three dots in your meeting settings, they may be at the top of the screen or they may also just be hovering in the middle of the screen. There should be an option in there called focus on content or focus on shared content. So that will actually make my shared screen bigger for all of you. So you'll actually be able to see the screen a little bit bigger. It kind of minimizes everyone's faces so that the shared screen's a little bit larger. So just a fun little tip there if you're trying to make the screen bigger. There's also a live captions option in there as well, which is a very nice accessibility feature. So if you need to turn that on, you can. That only turns on the captions for you. It's not turning it on for everyone else in the meeting. So another cool little thing as well. And yeah, and just beyond that, if you have any questions at any point throughout the session, feel free to post those in the chat. So you can post your questions in the meeting chat. You can also raise your hand if you wanted to ask your question out loud. That's always an option as well. You can use that with the raise your hand feature, but we'll also have time at the end of the session for any outstanding questions. So if you also wanted to save your question for the end, that also works as well. But we can go ahead and start the training. As Kathy had mentioned as well, if you could just make sure that you stay muted throughout the session just to avoid any disruption or distractions. But let's go ahead and dive right in. So this is going to be PowerPoint level 100. So we are going to be focusing a bit more on all of the beginner features of PowerPoint. We do have a level 200 session planned for the future, so that we'll be going over some of the more advanced features of PowerPoint as well. But today, really what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing on the navigation functionalities of PowerPoint. We'll be focusing just on some of the more basic functions like putting in transitions and animations, learning how to collaborate and design some of your presentations and all of that fun stuff. So I actually have a quick PowerPoint to go through before I dive into the hands-on part with PowerPoint. So we'll be talking about design ideas in PowerPoint today. So design ideas is something that's actually built into your version of PowerPoint, where as you start adding stuff to your slides, PowerPoint just kind of decides to give you ideas for what you may want to do with that slide. You can kind of see it here in this little screenshot. Design ideas kind of gives you some different designs for the slides. So if you're like me and you struggle to work with a blank canvas, design ideas is actually really good for helping to arrange your PowerPoint slides. I'll also talk about Presenter Coach today. So Presenter Coach is going to be another feature that's built into PowerPoint where it actually listens to you as you present. So you would start your presentation and you would basically begin rehearsing as you normally would. And Presenter Coach listens to you. It's going to listen to you through your microphone and it's going to tell you a whole bunch of fun stuff about how you did. It's going to tell you how long you took to get through the presentation, how many slides you rehearsed, how your cadence was. So it'll tell you your pace, if you were original, not reading off your slide, not using too many filler words, stuff like that. So I'll show that off today as well. Presenter Coach is actually a very cool feature of PowerPoint. I always like to show it off. And then if you didn't know, there's a lot of cool collaboration built into PowerPoint in Office 365. So you can actually share out your PowerPoint presentations with others within your organization, and you both can collaborate on those presentations together. So you can actually see the people that are in that presentation with you. You can actually see their icons, like in the top right, you'll see their icons show up. You'll see where in the PowerPoint they're actually making changes. It's all saved in the cloud, so it's going to save a version history. So you can always go back to an older version if you need to, if somebody makes changes that you're not happy with. You can leave comments on it and all of that fun stuff. So collaboration is big in Microsoft 365. And then you'll also probably just hear me talk about a couple of best practices throughout the session today, just in terms of presenting. So this slide just kind of talks a little bit about some of those best practices that you'll want to either do or not do when it comes to PowerPoint. Just to touch on a couple of important ones here. When it says choose the right font and color and use contrast, those are probably two of the biggest tips I can give when making a PowerPoint presentation. You'll run into it a lot where somebody uses a lighter colored text on like a light colored background, or the opposite, darker text on a darker background, and the text is almost impossible to read. So there are accessibility features built into PowerPoint, like the accessibility checker, that can check that for you to let you know if you have hard to read text or a font that's not easy to read. And so you definitely want to use that. If you're doing a presentation for people with PowerPoint, you do want to make sure that your text is easy to read for everyone that's going to be accessing that PowerPoint. Beyond that, you also want to not overcomplicate slides when you're creating presentations. You don't want to use too much text in your bullet points, for instance. The tip I always heard for bullet points in PowerPoint slides is try to keep it to no more than 7 words if you can. Typically, you don't want your bullet points on a slide to be crazy long sentences, because then people will end up just reading off your slide instead of paying attention to whatever it is that you're saying. So just something else to keep in mind as well when it comes to creating your presentation. But that is actually all that I have for that. So it is time to hop on into PowerPoint and start doing our hands-on demonstration. So I do have a document I'm going to be using for this presentation. Before I actually hop into that document, though, I am just going to open up the PowerPoint app by itself. So I'm just going to open up PowerPoint without actually opening up a presentation. So when you open up PowerPoint just completely by itself, you're going to end up in this screen right here, which is going to be a screen where you can open up other PowerPoint presentations that you have access to, as well as access various different themes inside of PowerPoint. So you don't just have to start your presentation from a blank slate. You do also get these themes that are built into PowerPoint right here. And if you actually click on more themes right here, this is actually going to give you a whole listing of the many themes that you have access to. So you don't just have to completely start with a blank slate. You can absolutely go through these themes and find one that you like. And the cool thing about these themes is pretty much all of them are going to be accessible. They're going to use text that's easy to read. They're going to be easier on the eyes. There's not going to be anything too complicated or crazy going on with those themes. And there are ways to import your own themes. So if like your organization has built out a couple of templates for themes, those are things that you actually can bring into PowerPoint. So you can actually import those themes. And I can show off how to do that. You can't do it from this screen. You have to do it from an actual presentation itself. But you can see just how many you have available to you. Beyond that, this is also where you can access recently accessed PowerPoint presentations. So under recent in here, this is where you can find all of your recent presentations. So anything, whenever you open something up, it's going to pop up at the top. You can pin them. So you see when I hover over each presentation, there's this little pin on each one. So you can pin those, and what that does is if you go to the pinned tab right here, it essentially favorites them so you can quickly access them from here. So if you were wanting a quick way to get back to certain presentations, you can do so from anything that you have pinned in this window right here. But I am actually just going to open up this PowerPoint level 100 one. So I'm just going to click on it, and that is going to open it up. So I do have a presentation here, and all of the slides, I kind of have laid it out sort of like an outline here of the various different features of PowerPoint that I'm going to go through here in this level 100 training. So it's a little bit easier to kind of know what's coming up, although the text might be a little bit small right now. So the first thing I actually want to touch on before we start diving into these slides here on the left is going to be the ribbon up here at the top of the screen. So navigation is going to be a big part of not just PowerPoint, but Office in general. So this ribbon, this is what we call it. All of these icons up here at the top are all part of this ribbon. So that's what this whole section up here at the top is. And this applies to all Office products. So if you're using Excel, if you're using Word, or if you're using Outlook, you have this ribbon up at the top of your screen. And this ribbon is customizable, and we'll talk about how you can customize it here in a minute. And all of the ribbon is split into these various different tabs at the top. So you've got the Home tab, Insert, Draw, and so on. So it goes all the way down to Help up here. And the tabs are relatively self-explanatory. So if you're trying to find a specific function, a specific action to use, you're typically going to find them from the top up here. So if I ever want to add something to a slide, the insert tab is typically going to be my best friend. So that's typically where I'm going to go to add anything like insert pictures or videos or audio. Typically the insert tab is going to be your best friend for that. Anything slideshow related would be under slideshow up here, where you see it was asking me to use the rehearsal coach, which I talk about here at the end of the session. So all of these tabs up here are cool. Something else that's also very cool is above the ribbon. So up here at the top, you have what's called the quick access toolbar. So these icons up here are part of the quick access toolbar. So what you can do is any of these actions here in the ribbon at the top, if you right click any of those actions, you'll see this option come up that says add to quick access toolbar. If you click on that, it adds that action up there, and it's always going to be up there across all instances of PowerPoint moving forward. So if there's any actions that you're frequently using, you can just simply right click on one, add it to quick access, do that with the forms one right there, and it will permanently be up there at the top no matter what tab you're in. So if I just click on it, it's going to use that action just straight from the top up there. And that's not just PowerPoint. This applies to all of Office. So again, this applies to Excel, Word, Outlook, any actions inside of this ribbon up here at the top that you're frequently using, even the slideshow actions, just simply right click and add them to quick access and it adds them up there permanently for you to use. And if you ever want to get rid of anything up here at the top, just simply right click on it and click on remove, and it will remove it from the quick access toolbar. So definitely that quick access toolbar. One of those features I didn't know about for the longest time, and then somebody told me about it one day, and I was like, that's actually really cool, and I didn't know it was there. So basically, it's just kind of a way to favorite the actions that you're regularly using. So anything that you frequently are wanting to use, you just add it up there, and you can quickly access it from there. Furthermore, if you did want to customize this ribbon at all, so if you wanted to get rid of certain sections or you wanted to add certain sections, if you right click anywhere in the ribbon, so just bring your mouse up here and just right click somewhere, you'll see this customize the ribbon box pop up. If you click on that, that's going to open up the tool to customize the ribbon. And so this is really daunting to look at. There's a whole lot here. And just to break it down, stuff on the right is what's already in your ribbon, and stuff on the left is stuff that you can add to the ribbon. So you can see all of my tabs at the top of my ribbon are broken down in here at the top level. So like the home tab, insert draw. And so if I wanted to add something, I would just simply go over here, click on it, and then click add. And the same thing, I can remove anything by just clicking on it and then removing it. So you can go in here and customize it. I'm not going to go much further into this than I already did. If you want to customize your ribbon, you can come in here and mess around with it as much as you want. There's various different ways to make your ribbon as customized as you want. If there's even tabs you want to get rid of, you can just simply unselect the tab and then hit OK, and it will apply your changes. And you can also collapse this ribbon. So all the way in the bottom right here, there's this little up arrow. If you click on that, it collapses the ribbon up into the top here. So it's just all you have now is the tabs. It gives you a little bit more space to work with. And when you click on a tab, the ribbon will come back. But as soon as you click away, it's going to go ahead and make the ribbon collapse again. So to get the ribbon back, you would have to open it up and go to that same corner in the bottom right. And this time just click on the pin, and that's going to pin it for you. So the ribbon, lots of different ways to customize it. You can do a lot with this ribbon. Highly recommend messing around with it, making it as comfortable as you want. But it's good to understand how the ribbon works because it does apply to all of the Office suite and not just simply PowerPoint. All right, well, let's actually talk now about, let's start talking about some of the various features of PowerPoint. So of course, all of your slides in PowerPoint are going to be here on the left. So whenever you have a presentation, all of your slides will be broken down here on the left. So this is where your layout of all of your slides will be. To add new slides to your presentation, there's two ways to do it. You can do it from the Home tab or the Insert tab. You'll see this new slide button up here at the top. There's also a hotkey for it. When I hover over this, you see it says Control M. So if you hold down Control and M at the same time on your keyboard, that will just automatically insert a new slide. But you can go up here, just click on the plus, and that's going to add a new slide to your presentation. You can also just delete it by hitting delete on your keyboard. You can also click on this drop down here underneath that new slide button, and that lets you choose what type of slide you want to add. So do you want to add a title slide, a slide with multiple types of content? You can look at these and select one of these slides to add. So if there's a very specific slide that you would like to add, you can do so from here. You also can segment your presentation into sections. So you'll see up here at the top, there's this section button. So you can actually add a section. So when I click to add a section, it's going to ask me to name it. So this little pop-up happened here. So I can just call this introduction if I want. Name it. And you'll see up here at the top, it added this little introduction section. And if I wanted to add a different section here, I can go to this slide, go back up to section, add another. Actually, that's going to add it to that part. Let me add it to, well, I could just, whoops. So you see when you drag and drop, it's going to drag and drop everything. I'll drag that up there. So you see how as you start creating these sections, you can click on a section and it's going to highlight all of those slides. It's going to be a good way to help organize your presentation. So you can actually create multiple different sections. You can remove sections if you would like, remove all sections. You can even collapse them. And what's nice is you can move entire sections at once. So if you have a presentation that's particularly long, maybe you've got 50 to 100 slides and you need to section it out, you can move sections around quickly and easily just by simply clicking and then dragging them, and it helps you drag them around. So I definitely would recommend sectioning out your PowerPoint presentations just for organization's sake. It also helps too with other various features like the zoom feature of PowerPoint, which I don't cover today. I actually cover that in the level 200 section, but the zoom feature is a pretty cool section of PowerPoint that really helps you make your PowerPoints more interactive. And if you have it split into sections, you can actually zoom to whole sections at a time and stuff like that. It's a really cool feature that's built in. But as you start building out your slides, you can edit your slides just by simply clicking anywhere in the designer here in the center of the screen. So everything that you put here inside of this box is what actually shows up when you are presenting your PowerPoint. You can always add notes to your slides. So down here at the bottom where this little notes button is, so it's at the very bottom of your screen, if you click on it, and you can also make it bigger. So if you hover over this line right here, you can kind of make it bigger. This is where you can add slide notes. So slide notes are basically just notes that only you would see. So you can add these little notes to any slide. So I can say, talk about design ideas. And so I would talk about design ideas. And so these notes are useful because when you're actually presenting, you will see your screen from presenter view, which the presenter view will show you your slide notes. And so you'll see those notes. So it's kind of a good way to help refresh yourself on what you're supposed to talk about for that slide, while everybody else would just simply see the slide itself. So this is a good place to add notes that you want to be, that you don't want to be a part of the actual slide itself, but are things that maybe you want to talk about. And now we can also talk about design ideas. So this slide is called design ideas. So this is where you can start having PowerPoint kind of try to create designs for you as you start building out your slides. So maybe I want to add some text here and say this, whoops, this is my first talking point. So I'm just going to add a little slide, a little bullet point right there. Let's actually add a picture to this as well. So you can insert pictures easily into your slideshow by going to the Insert tab at the top. And there's this little Pictures menu right here. So this is where you can go to add pictures either from your device, or you can also look up various different stock images. Stock images are really helpful. for being able to just quickly and easily find just stock images that help fit sort of the slide theme. I'll just grab this golf ball right here and insert that. Stock images are great. It's just a great way to just add images quickly to your presentation without actually having to go and download them onto your device or anything like that. And you'll see as I brought this image in here, it opened up on its own here on the right, design ideas. So you can see what design ideas does is it takes what is currently contained on your slide and gives you some ideas for how you may want to arrange that slide. So if I actually click on one, you'll see it just goes ahead and changes my slide to this. So it changes it to this kind of theme. Maybe I prefer this style theme, it'll change it to that, or this kind of theme as well. So design ideas is very cool as you start building out the different talking points, the different images, videos, whatever you may have as part of your slideshow. It's going to start creating these ideas for you here on the right. And if design ideas doesn't pop up for you, so if we X out of it, if it doesn't show up automatically, you can actually get to it from the home tab. So you can actually see all the way on the far right corner over here, design ideas. If you click on it, that's going to go ahead and generate those ideas for you. So it's only going to work if you have stuff on the slide, and it'll immediately start doing stuff as soon as you add stuff to your slide. So cool way to help PowerPoint sort of give you ideas for how you may want your presentation to look. I use this all the time because, again, I'm not the best with figuring out how to arrange stuff. And so I just have PowerPoint figure it out for me, and that's really cool. And PowerPoint is going to try to match your theme. So I had picked a specific theme, a specific template for this slideshow when I went into it. So if you actually go to this design tab at the top, this is where you can actually change up your theme if you need to. I believe you can also do so from the view tab at the top or review. But the designs tab is where you can go to actually mess around with your themes and your designs. There's actually a little drop down arrow up here where you can look through various different themes as well as browse for different themes if you wanted to change up the theme. All right, and then next up, we're going to be talking about how you can actually edit images in PowerPoint. So this is also something that you're able to do. It's a very cool feature that PowerPoint has built into it. So let's say you start adding pictures to your slideshow. So let's add another stock image here. Let's actually search for cat this time. So we'll just insert this picture of this cat. So I've got this little cat picture here. You can see design ideas, open it up again, trying to give me ideas for what I may want to do. But let's say this picture is too big. I think this is too big of a picture. I can always resize it if I want to. So you see these little buttons in the corner for resizing it. But let's say I just want the cat. I don't want the background that surrounds the cat. And this can apply to anything. Maybe I have a picture of a person and I just want the person. I don't want the background. PowerPoint actually has tools built in to help remove that background and make this a transparent image so that whatever's in the foreground is the only thing that's visible. So while you have an image inside of your slideshow selected, you will see this picture format tab show up at the top. And you do have to have the image clicked on. If I click anywhere else, you'll see that tab disappear. So when I click on the image, it gives me this tab at the top. So up here, this is where you can actually change many different features of images. So there's a whole lot of different things you can do in here at the top. You can add some lighting correction if you need to, as well as color correction. There's also some interesting artistic effects you can add, as well as some transparency to the image. This is also where you can go to compress the picture, which decreases the file size of the picture. So if you have many different pictures in your slideshow and you're finding that your file size is getting too big, then you may want to look into compressing it with this feature at the top. But the feature that I want to use is remove background. So if I click on this, what PowerPoint is going to do is it's going to highlight in this little magenta color what PowerPoint thinks the background of the image is. And if I actually click on the check mark up here, it's going to just go ahead and remove that background for me. And now we have a transparent image with no background where it's just the cat and that's it. There's nothing else here to talk about. Uh, it just goes ahead and gets rid of that background for me. I can even save this image. So this is officially a transparent image now. So I could save that picture and it's going to preserve that transparency so it doesn't have that background. And again, this will apply to any other image that you have. So if you're inserting any other pictures into your slideshow that you want to get rid of that background on, you can do that. So if I wanted to add another picture to this slideshow now, we'll just do another random, let's do this little cactus right here. So you can insert another picture now, and maybe you want to fit it right there next to the cat when otherwise it wouldn't have been able to work before. And something important to point out here as well, when it comes to images and text and all of that in PowerPoint, something important to understand is layers. So all of these images are going to be on different layers. So you'll actually see when I drag this cactus over the cat, I can't see the cat image anymore. All I see is the cactus image specifically. And so there's something you can actually do to change how these images are arranged. So if you actually right click on the image itself, you'll see this option up here that says bring to front or send to back. If I send this image to the back, it brings the cat image on top of it. So it makes the cat image on top of the cactus image instead. You'll also see that now I can't select the cactus image. It's this cat image is overpowering it. I have no easy way of selecting it. If this ever happens to you, up here at the top under the picture format tab, you'll see this selection pane option. If you click on selection pane, it's going to open up all of the components of your slideshow on the right-hand side of the screen here. So now I can click on picture 6, which is the cactus picture, and now I can actually move. Actually, it went ahead and did that. I can always lock this one. So this is actually where you can go to lock stuff as well. So maybe I want to click on that now and I can resize it if I need to, or if I need to move it around, I could always use my arrow keys as well. So you can actually go in here and you can select the various different components of your slideshow from the selection pane, and that's from this button up here at the top. So I'll just break down your slideshow into all of the components. You can even make stuff invisible this way. So if you click on the little eyeball, it gets rid of it, but it's still there on the slideshow. So if you wanted to get rid of various different things, you can do so from the selection pane here. So definitely a good way to figure out all the components and all that's a part of your slideshow quickly and easily. All right. Now it's going to be time for animations. So this is going to be the next thing to talk about here. So animations, of course, are going to be a huge part of PowerPoint. There's typically going to be something that people like adding to their PowerPoint slides is the ability to make it so that stuff is animated, stuff pops in on very specific intervals. So let's say we want to make it so that each one of these bullet points appears one at a time while I am presenting. You can use animations to do that. And conveniently enough, all animations are going to be accessed from the Animations tab up in the top of our ribbon. So this is where you will go to apply animations to various components of your slideshow. And the way animations work is it's going to animate things based on what you have selected. So let's say, for instance, I want this first bullet point to just kind of fade in when I'm going through my presentation. All I have to do is click and highlight that whole bullet point. And then up here at the top, I just select the animation I want to apply to that bullet point. So I could do fly in, float in. There's actually a drop down over here where I can look at all the other various animations, which they get pretty crazy. I will say this, don't overdo animations unless it's meant to be more of a fun slideshow where you're meant to just kind of have a good time. As far as a professional setting goes, you're typically going to want to make sure that your animations are a bit more subtle and not crazy spinning, shrinking, whatever some of these may do. You can have fun with them if you want, but typically you're going to want to stick to just some of the more basic ones, so to speak. So let's just click on fade. So if you click on fade, you'll see that it sort of played the animation out down here. And it went ahead and put a 1 next to that to let me know that that is the first animation of this slide. I can highlight the next bullet point and do the same thing. Go up here to fade, click on it, and it's going to apply that animation to it. And then finally, we'll do it to the third one here. Click on fade, and that applies that third animation. So 1, 2, 3 lets us know that this is first, second, and third. And I can test this out and make sure these work. So if I actually start the slideshow here, and a fun fact here, if you ever want to start a slideshow quickly from the current slide that you're on, down here in the bottom right corner next to the zoom option, you see this little slideshow icon. If you click on that icon, it's going to start the slideshow from the current slide that you're on. So if you ever quickly need to open up a slideshow from the slide that you're currently on, you can click on that button. And now, as I progress through my presentation, every time I click, it's going to go through the next bullet point. So it's going to make each bullet point appear one at a time as I click through my presentation. And so you can mess around with these animations. So as I click on each one, you can, if you want to reorder animations, if you click on one, you'll see up here in the top right, there's the option to move it earlier or move it later. So if I move earlier, it swaps 1 and 2. So now this will happen first and that one will happen next. Or I can click on move later to rearrange them again. You'll also see up here, this is where you can decide when the actual animation occurs. So you can choose, does it occur on click? Does it occur when the previous animation happens? So do you want to have like a cascade of animations happening at once? You can even add a delay to it. So if you're particularly confident in your presentation skills and you want to make it so that these animations play automatically and you don't have to actually trigger the animations to occur by clicking to advance, you could set a duration and delay up here for each one so that if you know it's going to take you 30 seconds to a minute to talk about bullet point 1, then after that time goes, the second one will pop up. So you can actually sort of create your own delay there to choose how long it takes. You can also click on animation pane up here at the top to do something similar to what we did earlier. It's going to open up all of the animations that you have in your slideshow here on the right. And you can go in there to rearrange your animations. You can basically like right click on them and choose exactly what happens with them, as well as adjust the timing of the animations. And you can even apply animations to images. So if we had added an image to this slide, we could add animations to it. All you have to do is just click on it. You would just click on the image itself, add an animation to it, and you'd be able to make that item animated. I will take a brief pause right there just to see if anyone had any questions on any of this so far. As I move through these, I'll give it like a second here, see if anyone has any questions they had while I take a sip of water. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone asking anything, so we can move on to transitions then. So transitions are going to be, oh, I just saw Stephanie had asked, can you type text next to a design? So do you mean like, can you type text next to an image? Like if I had an image inserted in here, can I move that text so that it can be directly next to that image? May need to. So yeah, so you can arrange stuff however you want here in PowerPoint. So there's actually an option. So like I can make this small if I want to. This whole area that this text is contained in is what's called a text box. So you can actually move these around. So if you see when I hover over the edges of it, these 4 arrows pop up. So you can actually click and drag that text box around wherever you want. And you can even add more text boxes to a slide. So up here at the top under the Insert tab, you'll see this option to add a text box. So you can actually, if you click on that option, it kind of turns your cursor into this, you kind of click and drag however large you want your text box to be. And it just goes ahead and inserts it that way. So you can add as many of those text boxes as you want, and you can continue typing out your text there if you want to. You can also even use a dictate tool. So under the Home tab, you may have seen there's this dictate option up at the top. If you turn that on, it will actually dictate what you say directly into PowerPoint itself. So you can see it's just continuously typing. I'll turn that off so it stops. So there's a cool little dictate option here as well. But yeah, you can just go in there, click and drag that text box and just kind of put it wherever you want. And so like if I were to insert any sort of image here, let me just copy and paste an image. So if I were to just go ahead and copy and paste an image in here, you can see I could add text below it if I wanted to. I could move that text like directly next to it and then even right click on that, bring it to the front so the text goes over top of it. So you can kind of get advanced with exactly where you specifically would want to put all of your text boxes and all that. Hopefully that helped answer that question. All right, I'm going to move on to transitions. So transitions, they're going to be another big part of PowerPoint. So this is actually where you will go to add transitions to your slide. So typically when you're going from slide to slide, you may want to add transitions so it's not as abrupt. The way this slideshow works right now, if I were to run it, every time I click, it just abruptly goes to the next slide until it's over. So if we wanted to add subtle transitions so that it's a little bit smoother going to in between slides, we can do so. And so transitions are just as easy as animations. They're going to all be under the transitions tab up at the top up here. And so all you have to do is click on a slide. So just click on it here on the left, and then you can just apply a transition to it. Again, there are a lot of transitions, just like there are animations. And also, again, don't go crazy with transitions. There are some exciting ones in here that do some wild and wacky things. Feel free to have fun if it's meant to be more of a fun transition, but again, you probably want to try to keep to more subtle, like the fade. I like the fade transition. If you just select fade, it does exactly what it just did there. It makes it so that the slides fade when you're going from slide to slide. And another cool tip here is since we had set this up as a section, we had created a section earlier, you can apply transitions to an entire section at once just by simply clicking on the section title, going up here to transitions. I can click on fade, and you'll see it adds that little star icon next to each one to let me know that a transition has been added to each slide. So I can then run my slideshow. And now when I click, you'll see it does that little fade transition to the next slide. And then this one has my animations on it. So just a fun little tip right there. So transitions, you can play around with those. If you click on preview up here, it just previews what it looks like quickly on the screen for you. There's also some options here on the right. So do you want it to play a sound? You do have the option to play sounds. Don't add sounds to your transitions. These are just going to be more jarring and loud than anything else. But if you do, for any reason, want to or need to add sounds to your transitions, you can. It's just my personal recommendation to stay away from sounds because, again, they're going to end up always being louder than you expect them to be. And it can be a little crazy, some of the sounds that exist, but it is a feature that is there if you did want to add sounds to your transitions. And you can also adjust how long the transitions take. So if you want to go up here and adjust this duration, you can do so. Okay, so the next piece to talk about is going to be tables. So tables is actually kind of an interesting one with PowerPoint. You can actually sort of insert your own tables in a couple of neat ways with PowerPoint. So up here under the Insert tab, you'll see this little table drop down. And this table drop down is available in like Microsoft Word as well if you ever need to quickly add tables. So you can actually just kind of highlight however big you need your table to be. And you can make a table bigger than 10 by 8. It's just that you would add more rows or columns to it after you've already created it. But you essentially select how big of a table you need. So if I know I need like a 3 by 3 table, I would go in here and select it. And it's going to go ahead and just automatically insert a 3 by 3 table for me. So I can add headers at the top. I can resize it if I need to, so I can make it bigger if I need to. You can see the table design tab at the top appears. So this is actually where you can go to change the design of your table. So if you want it to look a little bit different, you can go in here and change the colors. You can even customize the style even further. So the shading color, the borders, if you want to get rid of borders or add borders, you can do so. And you can just type stuff. So I can add in little headers right here. So if I want to add employee name, and you can also, so if I go in here to the home tab at the top, and this is where I can adjust all the fonts. So this is where you can actually go in to change the font type, the font size if I need to. I can choose to, exactly how I want this to be arranged. So if I want that to sort of be in the middle like that, or if I want it to be like that, you can change all of that, how you want it to be spaced. Lots of ways that you can mess with your tables in here. And it's all under the Insert tab is where you can insert your table. And up in Table Design is where you can change some of the design elements of it as well as the layout. The Layout tab is where you go if you want to add more rows, more columns. If you want to split some of the cells into multiple cells, you can do that. So you have a lot under the Layout tab up here at the top. And I also want to point out, if I actually, I'm going to delete this table, so I'm going to click on it and hit delete. Under this Insert Table option, you'll also see there's the option to insert an Excel spreadsheet. So if I click on that, this is actually going to insert an Excel spreadsheet into my PowerPoint. You'll actually notice we're not in PowerPoint anymore. It put us in Excel. These are all Excel options in the ribbon up here. I can resize this table. It's a little weird to resize. So I can sort of resize it like this. And now whatever I type in, text 1, text 2, if I go in here and maybe I do like Monday, and then maybe I drag that down to all the other days of the week. So whatever I add in there, as soon as I click out of this, so if I just click anywhere in the blank space over here, it leaves Excel and it just inserts that Excel spreadsheet into your PowerPoint for you. So if you wanted to design your table in Excel first, inside of PowerPoint, you can do so. So that actually allows you to add formulas and stuff if you wanted to. It's a little weird. This is actually just this is just Excel inside of PowerPoint. It's not really a separate Excel spreadsheet, unfortunately. There's no way to like save this and access this as a separate spreadsheet. But it is just kind of a way if you wanted to add Excel to your PowerPoint, it's something that you can do. I always like to point it out because it's interesting. As you resize this, so like if I resize this like that, it kind of gets rid of columns at a time. So you can click on any of the edges to change the size of it, and it will reflect that size over here. All right. And then the last slide here, at least to talk about, is the videos slide. So the videos are a big point of contention in PowerPoints. I've come to find. I'm sure there's a good chance that you have perhaps been in a presentation before or done a presentation before where you're supposed to have a video that plays in the slide, but it doesn't play or it plays incorrectly or it doesn't work. I've been there before. I feel like many other people have been there before. Videos seem to always be something that's just difficult to get PowerPoint to work correctly. So I can at least try to help out to help anyone understand sort of how videos work and how to make the video playing experience in PowerPoints a lot better. So again, under the Insert tab up at the top is where you will go to insert videos that you want to add to your presentation. So all the way on the far right side here is where you can insert videos. So there's actually a little video drop down right here where you can choose to add videos from your device. You can also add stock videos or online videos. And if I actually select online videos, you will see it's going to tell us to just copy and paste the URL for the video here in this bar. And it's going to tell us what video streaming platforms are available. I will say this, do this as a last measure if you have to. You can insert a link to a YouTube video here, but what it's doing is it's just kind of embedding that video into your PowerPoint, but it still relies on an internet connection If you don't have access to internet for some reason, or the internet that you are connected to isn't the best, then the video may be laggy or it may not work properly. This is definitely something to keep in mind if you are choosing to insert an online video. I will say, if you're ever wanting to add a video to your presentation, always, if you can, make sure that video is already downloaded onto your device. Because then you can just simply insert that downloaded video into the PowerPoint. It puts the video inside the PowerPoint itself, so you don't need to worry about anything else. It's just a part of the PowerPoint now, and it will just simply play when you get to that slide. So let's actually add a stock video, because I don't have any videos on here. The stock videos are also built into PowerPoint, so we can just add a simple stock image. Let's just do, this one looks like just a water one, so we'll just insert that one. So when I insert it, it's actually just going to go ahead and make it full size for me. You can resize videos, so when you click on the video itself, you can actually resize it just like you can resize images. So you can actually resize it and drag it around wherever you want onto your presentation. And so now that I have the video here on my presentation, there's a couple of things that I can do to change how that video plays back when I'm going through my actual slideshow. So while I have the video selected, if I go up here to the playback tab, this is where I decide how that video plays when I play it on my device. So you can see up here, I can adjust the volume. So if I want the video to be muted, or if I want the volume to be low, I can adjust the volume up here. You also can choose when the video starts. So there's a drop down here where you can choose, is it going to start when you click, when you go through the click sequence? Is it going to start automatically as soon as you get to the slide? Or is it going to start when you specifically click on the video itself? So if I'm going to do in click sequence, that's what I'm going to do. There's also this play full screen checkbox right here. This is a cool one. If you have this box checked, then as soon as the video starts playing, it's just going to full screen the video. You don't have to do anything extra. You can also choose to hide the video when it's not playing if you would like, which makes it just so it's kind of hidden until you do start playing it. You can loop it until you're done if you want, and you can also choose to rewind after it's done. But the way I have it set up now is perfect. So if I actually go to run this slideshow, you'll see the video just kind of sits there. And if I do my normal click sequence of going through my slides, whether it's with the arrow keys or just with my mouse, it just right away full screens the video and starts playing it right there for me. So very useful way to quickly full screen your videos is just simply when you click on the slide itself, it just goes ahead and full screens it. So you have a lot available to you from that playback tab up at the top. This is also where you can add more captions to your video if you would like. You can also trim it and choose like a fade duration if you need to. So you have a lot available to you for the videos that you're working with. Now let me delete that video. You may have also noticed under the Insert tab that there's also a screen recording option. So PowerPoint also has a screen recorder built in. So if you need to record your screen for any reason, if you're trying to do a demonstration, for instance, where you need to record your screen, you can do screen recording. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And you basically select where you want to record. So I can just like highlight my entire screen if I want to. And then click record. It's going to give you a countdown. And now PowerPoint is recording my screen. It's going to record all of my actions as I go through and do various different things. I can stop it. And what it does is it stops the recording and instantly inserts that screen recording directly into your presentation. And now I can play that video. And now PowerPoint is recording my screen. It's going to record. So it just recorded everything I did. It even recorded my voice. And we now have a screen recording. So that's pretty cool. It's something that you actually can use if you need to, for any reason, record your screen. You don't have to use any third-party software. You can just use PowerPoint to do it for you. So very cool tool if you were needing to record your screen for any reason. And same thing, it just adds the video here. You can even right click and save the video if you just want to save. If you just want to record your screen with PowerPoint and just save the video elsewhere. And then the last thing to talk about is actually going to be that rehearsal coach that I talked about during the earlier PowerPoint. So when you go up to this slideshow tab up at the top, that is actually where you can go to do the rehearsal coach. So you can see this rehearse with coach button right here. If I select that, it's going to go down here, open up this start rehearsing option, and I can click on start rehearsing. And it's going to start listening to what I'm saying. If I'm talking too fast, it's going to tell me that I'm talking too fast, that my cadence is too quick. I'm talking, you see, okay, I need to talk a little bit slower. If I'm using too many filler words like uh, uh, it's going to tell me, hey, stop doing that. You're using too many filler words. I can go through my different slides. I can say, if you turn that on, it will actually dictate what you say directly into PowerPoint itself. So you can see it's yelling at me for trying to read the slides and so on. I'm actually going to go ahead and stop the session. And now when I hit escape to close out of my rehearsal, it's going to give me a report of how I did. You'll see it typically wants you to rehearse for at least a minute to better understand things, but it's going to tell you how long you took, how many slides you rehearsed, how your cadence did. I used too many filler words. If I'm not, it's going to tell you if you're reading off of your slide. It's going to tell you how your pitch was. Rehearsal coach is cool. I wish I had this back when I was in school still, because this would have been hugely helpful for many of the presentations that I did once upon a time. But it's a great tool for being able to practice presentations, make sure that you're doing all right with your cadence and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, with that, that actually brings me to the end of my content. So I am going to open things up for Q&A. Real quick before I open things up before we move on to answering questions, I did just drop a link to a customer survey in the Q&A chat there. So that's just a survey for our metrics here at Microsoft. It's just how we keep track of how we're doing. So it's just a quick, like 1 minute survey that just basically asks how, what did you like, what didn't you like, helps us improve on future trainings. And it's also a chance to rate me as a presenter. So the best score you can give is all 10s. So if you wanted to give all 10s, that would be cool, but you definitely don't have to. But yeah, let's open it up for Q&A. I do see Stephanie had asked, so I can copy and paste a table from Excel into PowerPoint. So yes, you absolutely can. So if you're doing it via the Excel method, if you actually go inside it, if I double click on it, you can always just copy and paste the Excel data into here. And then when you click out, it'll just be a part of your presentation. Alternatively, the entire table itself, you can actually just click on it and just simply right click and copy it. And so if it was in like Word already, you can always right click on it, copy it and paste it. Just go in here and paste it into your slideshow. So you can do that in any product that you're in, and that will allow you to insert the table directly into PowerPoint. And I saw the question, how soon will the recording be available? So the recording will be available in the meeting chat, probably only a couple of minutes after the meeting's done. Sometimes it may take a little bit longer, like maybe half an hour or so, but once the meeting is done and the recording is stopped, the recording will be available directly in the meeting chat. Can I show again how to remove the background in a picture? So sure. So let's just insert another picture here. So let's say this one. Let's see how well it works with this picture. So we've got this picture of this guy standing in what looks to be like a warehouse full of pallets. Maybe we want to make it so that he's in the foreground. What we can do is while you have the picture selected, so make sure you click on the picture itself, that'll put you in the picture format tab. And so all the way up here where it says remove background, you can click on that, and PowerPoint is going to try to figure out where the background is for you. PowerPoint completely just did this wrong and thinks that that's the foreground, and he's not the foreground. That's interesting. So you can actually fix that. So there's these little pencils up here at the top where you can mark the areas to keep. So you can kind of like create like a little line around what you want to keep if you want to. This was not a good image to practice this with because I'm going to mark this area to remove and it should figure it out on its own. So you can kind of do that and it'll figure it out. So there we go. It's starting to work its magic now and figure out what we're doing. So I could spend some time doing that until I have what I need. And then once you click on the little checkbox up here, it's going to go ahead and get rid of that background for you. So it's not always perfect. It is an AI trying to figure out where the background is and what the foreground is. It doesn't help that he's wearing the same colors as the background as well, but it is a very useful tool for getting rid of the background in an image if you need to. Thank you. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask. You can ask out loud as well. You can come off of mute if you want. You don't have to ask in the chat. All right, well, we are
Hey,
getting
Macaulay.
close. Oh, yeah.
Yes, quick question. So I know, can you show one more time how to, I know there's times I wanted the image in the background and words to go over, like an image or like a picture. Um, can you show that again? Is that, because I know you have the two different layers
Yeah, so you
and
want to
I
make
just
it,
forgot those steps.
yeah, so to make it so that like the text here is always over top that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the everything is split into layers like you had mentioned. So whenever you want the text to be on top of a picture, uh, you can just simply, so if you right click on that text box, so you see I have the text box selected, um, right click on it and you can either bring it to front or send it to back. So if you bring it to the front, that basically, if you can think of this as like a pile of things, it kind of puts that text box on top of the pile. So if I were to send it to back, for instance, it means the cat's on top of it and the text box is in the background. So what you would want to do is right click, bring to front, it puts it on top so the text will always be on top of the image. Did that answer that for you?
It did. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and thank you for the thank yous, everyone. Yeah, and I saw the request for Excel, so we can talk about getting Excel sessions set up for your organization as well if that's something that you were interested in. I know Kathy's my point of contact, so we can see about arranging those as well. But yeah, we are right at time. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, so if nobody else has any other questions, we can go ahead and close out the session. So thanks everyone for attending. I hope